You may have noticed, man, that today we're gonna introduce a pair of new engines from a new country.
What kind of country are these two engines from, old Bonnie?
They're from good old Scotland.
Scotland? Sounds French to me. I don't know where I'm going with this.
I'm not
Hey,
sure we're
everybody!
making accents.
Welcome back to a really useful podcast where we basically make ourselves look like more. We're getting dumber and dumber every year as we do these episodes. My name is Sakura Diesel. I'm here with my good friend.
Bonnie, also known as Ultifat7. Hey, guys!
Basically, before we start, apologies to all our Scotland viewers and all of our French viewers and everything.
Yeah, very sorry, guys. It's just we try our best to imitate the characters as much as we can, but
But to
sometimes
be fair, we always end up looking like complete fools and everything. But to be fair, that's the beauty and the fun of this series.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, today we got a very special episode for you guys. Today we're going to be talking about the Twin Engines, which is the book that introduced Donald and Douglas, one of my favorite characters in the whole series as well as the whole show.
Same here, honestly, and such. Basically, pretty much after this book and everything, the Twin Engines definitely have slowly become. I wouldn't say they're like my favorite characters overall, or even like top 10 quality or anything like that. But this book definitely helped put a lot of shine into pretty much into these characters, and basically, I'll say this right off the bat and everything. This book pretty much gave them like a lot more proper introduction than what we got in season 2 in the TV series. And yeah, like get ready because I know a lot of people are gonna expect us to talk about that one story and everything that pretty much was about to be made as a TV series, but sadly got canceled.
I have a feeling that most people that read the Railway series are basically coming basically to the missing coach because that's a famous story in the Thomas fandom.
Pretty much, and honestly, after reading the missing coach and everything, it's really easy to see why. And I'm honestly really surprised, in a way that basically, much like Britain and everything, there are also other people that are also very split on that story and such too. So I'm very curious on pretty much after Barney and I give our thoughts on the missing coach, like I'm definitely very curious on where the other people are going to feel about that story overall. Because I know there are also some people I know there are also some Thomas fans and everything that basically also agree with Brit and that the story is complicated and such. So yeah, I'm definitely very interested when we get to that story and such.
And one of those, believe it or not, is the Unlucky Tug.
Oh, interesting.
He doesn't like that story. He says that it's possibly the most dumbest story ever written by Wilbert, and he still stands with that statement.
Really? Wow. Alrighty, well, basically, I guess I could give a little spoiler right here and such, but honestly, if we ever did invite Lucky Tug onto this episode, I am very surprised on, honestly, I would definitely be a little interested in having a little, quote-unquote debate with him about our feelings with the missing coach and basically, is it a bad story? Is it as complicated and such? Or basically, are we just making it complicated and such?
Yeah, I'm looking for the fun facts because yes, I finally got the book back.
Yes.
If you guys missed the last episode, I didn't have the book, so that was the first episode where I had to do everything by memory.
But now that you have the book, so go ahead. What's the backstory to this book? How did this book and basically how did Donald and Douglas came about?
Okay, so it's basically the book says it's giving like a little. I will fill this in just so we don't go into the stories real quick. I think this is the first book where we're slowly starting to realize that something is happening with Steam on BR.
Yes, yes, definitely for sure. I think this is basically where the complicated factor probably comes in. With this fact and everything, which again, we'll basically explain once we get to the story itself. But yeah, there are definitely a lot of hints, especially as the book goes along and everything. that basically there is a reason why one of the engines did not want to go back to like their hometown and everything, and why basically they ran away to the Fat Controllers Railway to begin with.
Yes, because the Donald was the one that was supposed to be the new engine, but Douglas knew that his faith was going to be scrapped, so he decided to tag along with Douglas, and lo and behold, this is what this book is about.
Pretty much, yeah. Which
Yeah,
basically, I have a lot to
looking
say about this. A lot of positive things, honestly, about that subplot.
And as for my boy John T. Candy, oh boy.
This is basically where his eyesight problems start to arise a little bit.
No,
Oh, okay.
no, nothing to do with that. It's nothing to do with that.
Oh, okay.
We'll get to one illustration, and that's in the final story. It's so
Okay. I think I know which one you're talking about. Yeah. Okay.
it's so bad that I'm like that every time I see that illustration, I start raging. But we'll get to that in just a minute.
Alrighty. Well, actually, another fact I also know about this. Apparently the basis, or at least the numbers that Donald and Douglas are based on, is basically actually like a little inside joke that Wilbur put in and everything.
Oh yes, yes. Donald and Douglas's basis, which actually there's one left in real life. There's actually one Donald and Douglas left in real life. The numbers that they say in the story, like 57646 and 57647, those numbers didn't exist in real life. They only went up to 57645. So basically, the joke is that the 57646 and 57647 were basically like jokes meant to talk about the basis of Donald and Douglas.
Pretty much, yeah. Which was honestly, it's definitely really clever on Wilbur's part.
Yes, and you can still see the Donald and Douglas's remaining brother in working at the Strathspey Railway in Scotland.
Yes, you can. Was actually is really fitting for the Scottish twin engines.
And they recently, I think it recently came out of overhaul, or maybe went on overhaul. Not 100% sure, but it's there. But it's there. Just look up videos online of the Strathspey Railway if you're interested, and you'll see it in action. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful engine, I will say.
It is. It definitely really is. And I also do know that Wilbur, I don't know if you want to say got criticism, but he definitely got a lot of letters, especially with parents regarding the twins' access as well too, and such. Because a lot of people, yeah, that is something that did happen. Yes, because parents were writing to Wilbur, so like, hey, what the fuck is this? I can't even understand the Scottish. yeah. Pretty much, those that didn't speak Scottish were just like, "What is this? Is this like broken English or something?" But then on the other flip side and everything, those that were actually Scottish, or at least have Scottish heritage and everything, basically loved the way that Wilbur used their language with the twin characters and such, from what I understand.
Yeah. And I think Wilbur did a solid job in making the Scottish accent work for the twin engines.
He did. He really did. Although I will admit, I do actually see a little bit on like where some of the people are coming from. Because yeah, there were actually also moments myself too, reading the book myself, right, where I had to do a double take just to make sure I'm saying this right, or at least the word, or at least the words they were using are actually the words I was thinking of.
Let me pull up the book. Let me pull out the book out here so I can take a look at one example.
Alrighty.
Because a little bit more behind more behind the scenes stories. They painted broad new numbers on attendance, but they put nananas.
Yeah.
That's one line where I basically had to basically double check like 3-4 times, and then I messaged this guy saying, "What the fuck do they mean by this?"
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, a little behind the scenes. Yeah. When Barney said that, I basically explained to him, basically in the missing coach and everything. Do we want to spoil this now, or wait till we get to the missing coach, or?
I think we should wait until we get to the story because,
okay.
So people can think they can get it.
Okay, so you guys are gonna have to wait for your spoilers a little bit, so be patient. Or basically, since it's not live stream and everything, you can go ahead and probably just skip to the missing coach if you want.
So before we get started, I just want to say that season 2 so far has been a lot of fun.
Like, it has. It has definitely been a lot of fun, and this is definitely the part where basically most of the stories and everything that we've covered and everything, I don't think there's been one book so far, because we still got one more left after this one, but so far, like, the only really low grade that any book has ever gotten is, like, a B. I think I've only given one C, and that was only with the 8 famous engines and everything. I think that was the lowest. I think that was the lowest grade I ever got on the basically in this season so far, and that's actually very impressive considering
Still
some of the
better,
grades the
still better
books in
than
the
a
first
D.
season got.
Still better than a D or an F. I still take C as acceptable.
Pretty much, yeah. Same here.
Yeah, season two compared with season one, I've had more fun with filming this season than I did with season one, except for the final episode of season one, where the
I think what it is and everything. Most because with season one, when you get down to it, most of the books in season one are pretty much stories that pretty much you and I have been through a lot as a kid, thanks to the TV series and everything. Because pretty much, and especially in the UK version, they're just copy and paste, word from word and everything. That honestly pretty much, that honestly pretty much, if you listen or watch the TV series version of the Railway series, and pretty much you just basically read the original book version as well too. There wasn't really all too much changes that happened between like the first 8 books in season one, outside of like a couple of stories here and there. But then once we got to season 2, and especially once we got to the Scarloy entries and everything. Like I said, this is a season where basically we are slowly starting to see Britt and David pretty much starting to actually adapt books from basically into the TV series, and there's actually are still subtle differences between the book version and the TV series version. That honestly, some of the original content and everything that's on the Railway series that have not been brought into the TV series yet have actually given us something new to talk about as well.
Yes, and the original stories, like for example, Gordon Goes Foreign is a good example.
Mm-hmm.
That was our first original story, basically, for this podcast. If you think about it,
Pretty much, and pretty much the first 2 stories are technically original stories as well too, because like I said, even though they were planned to be in the TV series and everything, they were scrapped eventually and everything. So technically, the first 2 stories we're going to be talking about are basically brand new original content in a sense.
oh yes, Hello Twins is an original, as well as Missing Coach. Yeah,
Yes.
those two are original stories.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you could say Mrs. Kindly's Christmas is also original because it wasn't adapted fully, but
Yeah,
I
pretty
but I
much.
wouldn't say, but I wouldn't say it was fully, because I will say the first half, the middle half was adapted into Thomas's Christmas Party.
Pretty much, yeah. And yeah, speaking of Thomas Christmas Party, I think Thomas's Christmas Party, well, actually, it's a mix between Thomas's Christmas Party as well as like Henry and the Elephant, where basically we did start to see a little bit on like different adaptation changes between books and TV series, and that was the reason they gave us some material to work off with and start comparing like which one like which version did we like better, the Railway series or the TV series, or basically which one had the pros and which one had the cons and such.
So, without further ado, shall we get into the stories?
Yes, let's go ahead and get into the stories and everything. So there's not much of a backstory on how this book came to be about or anything, or not as much information as there was in the last
I don't
story.
think so, because I double checked and I really couldn't find anything.
Okay. Alright, so basically all we know is just basically the inside joke, and parents upset that they basically had to learn a new language. So
Yes.
anyway, alrighty. So
But
yes,
I do have more for the next book, which is actually the finale for season 2.
yes, and I know that Bonnie is very excited to get to that book, and he's also
Very
very excited to
excited.
get to the very last story too. I know that.
Yeah, right.
Anyway,
Oh boy. Yeah, wait till we get to Percy's predicament. Wait till
Yeah.
we get to Percy's predicament.
yeah.
I don't have
Anyway,
too much to say. I don't have too much good to say on that story, but yeah. Anyway, let's get into the twin engines.
all right. So yeah, first off, we got us Hello Twins, and I'm basically starting off basically starting off the first story and everything. So basically, Hello Twins, to basically give a nutshell version of the story and everything, because honestly, this is a really, really short story. Honestly, when you think about it, the story's just more of a introduction story to the twins, and that's really about it and such. But anyway, so yeah, the summary in a nutshell version Basically, now that more people are coming to the Fat Controllers Railway and everything, there's now again, once again, more jobs and such for the engines to do. Not only are the engines complaining, and not only are the trucks are complaining, but the coaches are complaining too. So basically, the top of hat is just like, well, I know what that means. Time to break out my bank account and hire new engines and such. However, a little plot twist for this one: instead of one engine, he gets two engines for the price of one. So basically, the Fat Controller was part of the buy one get one free ad and everything. And actually, basically, at first, he only wanted one engine, and when the inspector told him that the two engines are exactly alike and lost their numbers, the Fat Controller is just basically like, all right, well, let's see who's playing mind games again. And so basically, he goes to the yard. He meets the twin engines, Donald and Douglas, and everything. At first, Donald and Douglas try to play all innocent, basically like, basically telling the Fat Controller that basically the numbers might have just slipped off and everything. And basically, when the Fat Controller tries,
I just found another line that I never got until I got older. They might have slightly slip it up, sir. You can't know how it is.
Yeah, I can understand how some people might got a little confused with it. I think I might have gotten confused a little bit as well too when I heard that and everything, because basically back then and everything, I always thought that the engines had the numbers painted on them. So even then, I was just like, how the fuck can you lose your numbers? Did your paint suddenly like ran dry or something, or did you scratch it off or something, or? Basically, I think we could basically say that the numbers that the twins were given were one of those basically one of those nameplate numbers and everything that they put on basically on top of their heads, or at least close to their funnels and everything, and basically that's how they got lost and such. Basically the drivers and firemen were probably okay. So either two theories might happen. If the numbers weren't painted on, and if they were one of those nameplates and everything that got that usually is attached right in front of the funnels and everything, I see the drivers and firemen easily taking them off, and that way basically the twins can just pretend that way the twins can pretend and say that basically, oh yeah, the numbers are just slipping off, sir, and everything. You can't know how it is. Or basically the other theory could be that if the numbers were painted, then I could imagine that the drivers and firemen probably just worked very hard and basically washing and scrapping the paint off until the numbers weren't there no more.
I believe both theories, but the second one I believe the most.
Yeah.
And the second story has a lot to do with that, but we'll get to that later.
Yeah, pretty much. And then basically to finish off the summary and everything, even when the Fat Controller tries to get the controller and everything, or basically the original controller for Donald and Douglas, to basically confirm who is who. That's when the twins are just like, sir, we only given ourselves a name after we lost the numbers. He's not gonna be any help to you. And that's when the Fat Controller's just like, okay, someone is bullshitting here with me again. Or basically just like, alright, you know what? One of you is playing truant. I'm gonna play Ace Attorney and figure out who is the true culprit. But until basically that's basically what he's doing and everything. He's basically Totaba Hat is now hiring himself to play detective to just basically find literally find the odd engine out and send him home and such.
I know, but the thought is so funny.
Ace Attorney, the Fat Controller edition, Turnabout Twins.
That's the best name for the case. Turnabout Twins.
Turnabout Twins. This is where Douglas is framed for murder and everything, or at least framed for being a runaway and such. And basically, Doug, the defense attorney, is there to prove that Douglas is innocent by basically brute force and bullshitting.
I could just imagine the little that says October 1960, 12 p.m.
Yeah.
Engine yard, Sodor.
And then basically that's the plot point to when Donald and Douglas just started running away.
59. Sorry, because I keep forgetting that the book takes place a year before it was published.
But anyway, so yeah, that's basically the plot to Hello Twins and everything. So basically, after the Fat Controller decides like who's playing truant. At the very least, he does allow both engines to stay for now, and such until he finds a true engine that was meant to stay on Sodor, and basically whoever was playing truant, he's gonna send them home and such. So, like I said, this is a very short first story. Probably the shortest first story we definitely had in a railway series up until this point. I think the only one that kind of takes the cake for being a short first story is probably Edward's Day Out and everything. And pretty much when you think about it, both of those stories really just more serve as like an introduction in a sort of sense. But they're still different in a way. Whereas like with Edward's Day Out, it's more of an introduction to Edward himself as a character and who he is. Whereas in this story, the introduction is just more showing the introduction on the conflict that both Sir Topham Hatt and twins are going to be facing throughout the whole book, where basically the Fat Controller is basically trying to find out the odd engine out, and basically send them home. And the twins right now are just trying to doing anything they can to survive and make sure they stay on this island no matter what and such. For reasons that basically we are going to see much later in the book and everything. And honestly, for an introduction and everything, it's a really good one and such. It's definitely a really good introduction. I definitely love the interactions between the twins and the Fat Controller. You could really tell just right off the bat that their little interaction, it's definitely going to be something. It's definitely going to be carrying the whole meat throughout this whole book and such.
If their faces don't show anything, I don't know what will.
I mean, yeah. Just look at their faces and everything. I mean, honestly, if Donald and Douglas weren't supposed to be protagonists or the good guys and everything, they kind of look like the type of engines that would plot a murder or something and try to fool or probably frame someone else for it and such.
Pretty much. John T. Kenny did an amazing job with the faces. I think this is like the best book he's ever done with the faces.
He did. He really done a good job with the faces and everything, especially like I said with the introduction, because again, as Bonnie mentioned, when you look at their faces right at the very first page and everything. Basically, if you were to top ahead and everything, you would also definitely tell that something that's not right here, especially with the way the engines are basically speaking or trying to make up excuses as to why. As to basically why, what happened to the numbers and why the Fat Controller can't just call the original owners for Donald and Douglas and try to tell who is who and everything. Basically, both Wilbert and Johnny Kenny really did a good job on basically writing these characters' introductions and everything as well too, and such. Like really right off the bat, you can really get a sense of feel of their characters as well too, and you really, and pretty much by the end of the introduction, you definitely want to see more. You definitely do want to see how the twins are going to be doing on the island of Sodor and what kind of engines they're going to be from here on out and everything during the next three stories.
Yes, definitely.
So,
I should mention this.
go ahead.
And this is something that I've been thinking about for a while. I've been thinking about this for a very long time. But I think because I need to read the other books again to get a sense. But I think this is the most stressful book in the entire series. Stressful by mean that making you feel like, oh shit, are the twins are gonna be staying, or are they gonna go away?
Honestly, yeah. Now that you mention it and everything, because I mean, honestly, I'm also really thinking about the other books and everything going forward. And like I said, this could change, like you said, and everything. But honestly, yeah, when you really think about it, this is really like the most, like you said, not only stressful but also like dire situation, or at least I guess you could say mystery in a sort of way, but it's definitely dire. Like, it's definitely one of the most dire situations, or at least a dire situation plot we've ever seen from the Railway series up until this point. Because, as like you said, yes, this is the part where not only Wilbur, but pretty much anyone that's worked on a railway and everything can slowly see the signs that steam engines are basically going to be going away forever and such, or basically at least the fear that because diesels are the new technology and a new better way to run a railway and everything, that they fear that all steam engines are going to be scrapped and such, and basically they're going to have nowhere left to go and such. So basically, what better way to sympathize or create interesting characters than to center around a whole plot about basically about two engines where only one was supposed to be there in the first place, while the other is just basically a runaway because basically, like you said, like Douglas was to go back and everything. He's pretty much being signed like a death warrant right there and such, and right there, that really creates a really interesting character conflict and conflict right there from the very beginning.
The scrap reaper, I should say. Yeah, because if you get what I mean.
Yeah, pretty much. And it's like I said, it's only this introduction right here where, basically, if you did not know, or at least if you didn't know the situation at first, or at least, or basically at least what's going on and everything, and why these two engines are here to begin with, you would probably also think that these engines are probably just cheeky jerks or something, or at least the type of engine that or at least the type of engines I'd like to cause trouble for everyone else and everything, just by being, just by using the excuse that they're twins and everything, meaning that because the engines don't know them just yet and everything, they could pretty much pretty much if they wanted to, and this is something that they will do in the next story. Pretty much fool and trick everyone into thinking that they're one of the twins or basically something like that. You guys kind of get what you guys get what I'm getting at and everything. So yeah, I don't have too much to say on the story after that and everything because, like I said, it's a very short story and such. It's just basically a short introduction and you know what? Honestly, with the short introduction and everything, and now that we're talking about this, I'm gonna get the story a 10. It's a really good introduction story to basically introduce the twin and not only introduce the twin engines, but like I said, also introduce the conflict between the twin engines and Sir Topham Hatt himself as well too. So yeah, I give this first story a 10.
Wow. The first time that I'm really impressed,
Yeah.
because I think this is the first. Well, not counting Thomas the Tank Engine, I think this is the first time in a while where you're giving something a 10 right from the get go.
Yeah, pretty much. Now that you mention it and everything, because even the last story, I think I gave I believe I gave Truck something like an 8 or a 9 last time.
I think it was a 9, most likely.
Yeah.
So, hello twins. Great first introduction. You nailed everything I was gonna say. It's a great first introduction to Donald and Douglas. The
Mm-hmm.
thing that I love the most about this story is the fucking illustrations. My God, that first illustration, even from the beginning, that first illustration where the station is crowded with people. Holy crap, that looks amazing.
It does. It does. It does. It really does look amazing. And not only that, but basically even the scene before the Fat Controller meets the twins. Again, that illustration alone, like, basically sets up like basically the type of tone that this book is going to be going for.
I also love the little introduction that Donald and Douglas had with the Fat Controller. That was comedy gold because
It was.
'cause, I just
It definitely was. It definitely was. Like I said, you could basically tell right off the bat that the twins are just basically trolling with him.
pretty much, and the way they speak to him is just like the best thing ever.
Pretty
they,
much.
they, 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 they're basically like, oh yeah, we kind of lost our numbers on the way, but you know how it is, sir. Okay, so you lost them on purpose, eh? What do you mean? We couldn't have lost him on purpose. What do you mean we lost him on purpose? So we don't know anything about that. But I will say, like, I'll give my rating in a second. But
Alrighty.
this is the in this story is where you get the sense of stress where you're like, oh crap, what's the Fat Controller gonna do to them? Because you can tell from the very beginning he's not impressed by them.
Pretty
He's
much.
like,
Yeah.
something's not right here. I'm gonna have to investigate.
Mm-hmm.
And that leaves you wanting more, and it leaves you stressed. It's like, oh, it leaves you in like a worrying attitude. It's like, oh shit, what's he gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder what's he gonna do. Basically, pretty much. And I think that's what everything I was gonna say because you nailed everything I was gonna say. So no arguing with you. This is a 10 for me as well. Great
All right.
introduction.
Alrighty. Well, so far, we gave both of the story a 10, right off the bat ourselves and everything. So far so good and everything. Alrighty,
Hmm.
alrighty, man. Well, This is the story everyone has been waiting for, and hey, what do you know? You're gonna be talking about this first, so go go right ahead. Let's get this over with. Let's talk about the, I guess you could say, controversy or or definitely at least debatable episode. Definitely debatable if this should have been in the TV series or not. But here we go, the missing coach.
All right, the missing coach. So after the Fat Controller goes away, the twins are given numbers. Donald is 9 and Douglas is 10. And when the Warpmen go away, they're basically like, "Oh, you know something, Dougie? They painted numbers on us, but they didn't put something on us, and that something they're referring to is their nameplates. They forgot to put the nameplates, and they basically look at each other like, you think we can? That's that. I'll explain what they mean by that in just a second.
Mm-hmm.
By the time, and then the inspector comes and tells them about Duck. It's like, hey, here's Duck. He'll show you around. So the twins enjoy their day with Duck, and they soon learn what to do. And then Duck tells them to beware of the three big assholes, as if that's not new by this point.
Yeah, pretty much. But then, uh, but
And
then
Donald
we
Duck
uh, but
is
then
like,
we probably get to one of the best and even funny scenes involving the twins and at least two of the three assholes and such.
pretty much. And Donald and Douglas are like, don't worry, we'll handle them. So Donald and Douglas, one thing that Donald and Douglas have are deep tone whistles, and Gordon and Henry make fun of them, saying like they sound like buses or ships, and then Gordon says "tugboat Annie," which causes him and Henry to burst out laughing. But then, out of nowhere, Donald and Douglas cruise quietly up to them, and they're basically like, "What's this? Oh, you're making fun? Are you making fun of us?" And Gordon and Henry are like, no, 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 no. We're not making fun of you. Oh, no, 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 no. We're not making fun of you. And Donald and Douglas are like,
Now, just mind the both of yous and
yeah,
keep it that
and
way.
keep it that
We were
way.
basically raised on the streets, so if we have to beat the shit out of you, we're not afraid to do so. They probably would if they could.
If the Indians were people, I bet Donald and Douglas will beat their asses up.
Pretty much. Like I said, I can definitely see Donald Douglas being like, being kind of like, being like the type of people that were raised on the streets and everything, and everything. Just like I said, based on like both the personalities and their attitudes as well.
Pretty much. And basically, it's basically that little message that keeps Gordon and Henry quiet
Hmm.
afterwards, and they never tease them again. Okay, so
So here we
I-
go.
I'll read. I'll read it like this because I'll basically read from the book because it's
Okay.
basic. I'll basically all right. Every day, punctually at 3:30, Gordon steams in with the Express. It is called the Wild Nor'Wester. So basically, yes, we get the first name. We get the name for the Express finally after so long.
Pretty
It's
much,
basically
yeah.
the Wild Nor'Wester, and it's full of people from England, Wales, and Scotland. There is also a special coach for passengers traveling to places on Thomas's branch line.
A
When
special
the other
coast that
coaches
we're
are
never going to see again after this book.
wait till I finish giving the synopsis because
Go ahead.
there is something I want to talk about in the TV version that was almost close to completion,
Go ahead.
but we'll get to that in a moment. When the other coaches are taken away, empty. When the other coaches are taken away empty, engines have to remember to shove the special coach to the bay platform. It does not wait there long. Thomas, with Annie and Clarabelle, comes hurrying from the junction to fetch it. Thomas is very proud of his special coach. So basically, when Gordon finishes pulling the express, engines have to put the special coach in the platform so Thomas can pick it up. And basically, one afternoon that Douglas volunteers to take Gordon's coaches away. He basically has like a thought that basically
Basically, he kind of has a little oh shit moment when. Because remember, in the very last story, the Fat Controller did say that he was basically going to find out which engine is telling a lie, like which engine was not supposed to be here in the very first place. And Douglas is just like, oh shit. Like basically, he realized that if the Topham Hatt actually does find out that it was Douglas himself, not supposed to be here. Douglas is basically going to be sent to death, to put it lightly.
Yeah, the Scrap Reaper is coming for him if basically he's sent back.
Yeah, basically, if the top has sends Douglas away, he's basically sending him to Diesel 10.
Pretty much. I guess you could say that, even though he doesn't exist in the Railway series. But
Well, I mean, technically he kind of does in one book, in one story, which we're not going to get to the very next season.
I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
I think I know who you're talking about.
yeah.
And I'm glad he got sent back. And I'm glad he got sent back to the other railway because he did fucking deserve it.
Okay, no, that's not the word I'm kind of talking about. I'll basically let you know when we get to that book.
Yeah, all right.
Anyway,
So after the thought about being sent back struck Douglas, he over worries about it so much that he forgets to shunt the special coach.
mm-hmm.
So my favorite character comes chugging along happily, but then he comes back and says, "Where the fuck is my coach?" And Douglas is
What
like,
coach?
"Coach? What coach?" And Thomas tells him like the coach that Gordon fetches for him, and he goes to find it. And then Douglas remembers like, "Oh shit, I forgot to shunt the special coach."
And
And then basically,
yeah, and then here we go, the plan.
all hell breaks loose. The passengers get angry and buzz around the platform, telling the fat controller off about where's the special coach. And then Douglas's driver comes up with a plan. I think it was Douglas's driver. Yeah, Douglas's driver. Yeah.
Yes. It was Douglas' driver, which again is very interesting. It's very interesting that it's not really the engines; it's more so the driver that came up with the plan this time.
So basically, the driver comes up with a plan to say okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna change tenders, so the fat controller does not know who's who. Quick, he's coming. Do as I say. So the plan goes into action. Uh, Donald with Douglas's tender takes away the goods train, and Douglas is in the yard pretending to be Donald. And here's where the shit fest begins.
Pretty much.
The fat controller comes back and he's like, "Oh, hey Donald, why haven't you taken the goods train?" And Douglas pretending to be him is like, my tender is uncoupled, sir. And and basically the fun this line makes me laugh for some reason. I see some defect, no doubt. The way he says it's like, okay, so I guess the coupling broke. So basically, Douglas still pretending to be Donald. He's like, sir, maybe, sir. Basic. Okay, so let me explain that again. Sorry.
Rewind.
So rewind. So basically, the fat controller questions about why did Douglas, in this case being Donald, went away with the goods train so fast. And then Douglas pretending to be Donald is like, I don't know, maybe he thought it was late. And this is when the shit gets really really shitty. But the fat controller explains to the passengers basically like what was going on, and then the passengers go away, and then the fat controller wipes his eyes. Suddenly, he turns around and he says, "Douglas, why are you masquerading with Donald's tender?" So basically, he knew it was Douglas all along.
Like I said, puts the top of hat, literally puts the top of hat on the next Phoenix Wright series and everything.
And well, this is where the story ends in a cliffhanger.
And you know what? What a cliffhanger it is! Like I said, if you thought that Dirty Work had kind of like a really interesting and really interesting and open cliffhanger and everything. To me, I think this is probably one of the better cliffhangers I've ever seen from the Railway series thus far. Especially with that illustration. Especially with that illustration with both Douglas and his drivers and firemen just looking at your top of hat, astounded that basically they have been found out so quickly.
Yes. The thing that shocks me the most is their expressions, not Douglas's expression, just his driver and fireman. It's like, oh fuck, our plan, we just been caught.
Pretty much. I could just imagine the drivers and firemen being like, "We're so fired."
I wonder whatever happened to them. It's never explained, but I think they got fired, honestly.
Yeah, they probably did. Let's be honest.
All right, so before I get to my thoughts on the story, let's go ahead and get into the elephant in the room, the backstory behind the TV series version.
Yeah, yeah. Let's do this.
All right, so the story was gonna be adapted for season two, and actually they started filming it back in 1985.
Mm-hmm.
And halfway through filming, Brit was like, you know what? I think it's best if we cancel it because the plot might be a little bit too confusing for young kids. So I think it's best if we cancel it.
So basically,
So
yeah, Brick kind of got rid of basically the whole meat, or at least the whole or at least the whole reason on like the situation that Donald and Douglas were facing to begin with.
pretty much, yeah. And so what ended up happening was they actually almost completed it. They almost completed it because according to some images that surfaced online back in August of 2020,
Mm-hmm.
pretty much the episode was almost done. They basically went up until the scene where the twins switched tenders. It was almost done, and so basically when Britt set her foot down and canceled the episode, basically the episode was lost for a very long time.
It
And we and
was,
to this
yeah.
day we,
In
and to
fact,
this day
I think the correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the first time we've ever heard about the missing coast being canceled was at was basically when David made an interview. The was interviewed by the Sodor Islands fan site just a short while before he passed away. If I'm correct on that.
yes, and he actually confirmed the truth that yes, the episode was being filmed in 1985, but Britt decided to cancel it.
Yeah, and then pretty much after that, I think there were only like one or two images that surfaced after that. Like I do remember that one of the images that was used for a very long time was the image of image of Douglas at the coaling plant. Basically with a scene where like he's shunning the where basically he's shunning the special coach and everything, and he expressed away. And then like I
And
think
for
there
a
was,
long time, we all thought the special coach was actually one of Gordon's press coaches.
but nope.
Well, but nope. In 2020, Tom Props, he's a guy that owns a lot of the props from the show after the model series ended.
Mm-hmm.
He basically leaked some images on. I think it was him that basically posted the images online.
Mm-hmm.
And nope, it was actually Annie and Clarabelle's lost sister.
Pretty
Technically,
much.
sort of.
Sort of, yeah. Well, at the very least, we can say that like it was at least one of the branch line coaches.
Yes, and I was very disappointed when we found that out. But
Yeah,
you know,
okay, because I think a lot of people at the time thought it was like that. Thought it was like one of the express coats with the red paint on it. All right.
I was very disappointed when I saw that image. But yeah, you know, they almost completed it, but they had to cancel it, and so they filmed another episode, which we don't know what episode that was. For a long time, we all thought it was Thomas, Percy, and Nicole.
Yeah. Yeah. At first it was Thomas Percy and Nicole. But then later on, I think is they think it was either, or at least we think that like it's either the Runaway or Better Late Than Never that was actually the replacement for that episode.
Most likely, better late than never. But until a crew member steps up to confirm, we can't
We
you
can't
know.
really say for sure and such. Me personally, honestly I could believe more that it was Thomas Percy and Nicole to be that was actually the replacement and everything. Mostly because that honestly I can't really see, or at the very least, I can't understand why Britt and Dave would want to adapt at least. Would want to adapt at least, the beginning part of the story and not adapt the very last story, at least somewhere later, or at least at the very next episode of season two and stuff. So that's why I kind of believe that Thomas Percy and Cole was the replacement and such. But honestly, at the same time, seeing the people that make the arguments on why Better Late Than Never could also be the replacement episode does actually make a lot of good points, and at least or at least gives a very good reason as to how or why, or at least how to why that episode could be the replacement.
Yes, it does make sense, to tell you the truth. And a side note, why Drip Tank wasn't adapted, I'll never know because that story is so good. I wish it was adapted, honestly.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to it when we get to that story.
So the missing coach, yeah, this is what you all came here for. I bet. I bet everyone is coming here to hear me bash the missing coach. Well, I'm gonna surprise you all. I don't think this story is as bad as I was making it out to be. There, I said it.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, we'll get this out of the way, but Bonnie and I actually were actually talking behind the scenes about the missing coach, and honestly, when we were getting to the missing coach, me personally, I was going in this with more optimistic and such, because I do remember reading the missing coach for the first time. I want to say it was my favorite and everything, but I definitely did found it to be an interesting story and such. But when Barney himself said that like he was gonna read the missing coach and try to be as like analytic and as critical as he could on that story, I did the same thing. And honestly, reading that story and everything, and even now, like recently, just yesterday and everything, just thinking about the setting on that story and how basically it impacts both Donald Douglas and even the Fat Controller and everything. This story is really slowly getting to be one of my favorite stories. Probably not only in this book, but probably out of the Railway series as a whole.
I can see your point. Okay, so the reason why I was incredibly harsh to the story when we were talking behind the scenes is because I feel the part where they switched tenders, the plan was doomed to fail from the start. That's how I
Yeah.
viewed it when I first read the story. And to be fair, I kind of agree with the unlucky Tuck in some parts where he says like the missing coach is an utter mess, but after reading it, it's like no, the first half is not a mess
No, it's not.
because
Like, okay, honestly, in the Railways, in the book, I would not say it's not as much of a mess, but originally when Bonnie was bringing up the critics on the, or at least his criticism on Donald and Douglas' plan about switching their tenders and everything, at first I did agree because basically I also thought long and hard, and I was just like, yeah, I could kind of see your point on how that plan was like doomed to fail to begin with and stupid and everything. Um, but then like I said, like I said, once we started reading it, and even in the beginning, because like you said, when you were giving your summary, the answers pretty much kind of stated the audience or at least the readers and everything, just what is going to be happening in the story and everything. That subtle little wink, wink, nudge, nudge about basically how they have numbers but they don't have nameplates. Again, was really clever on Wilbur's part. That basically when the plan come, it didn't feel like it came out of nowhere and everything. It definitely felt like something that definitely, in a sense, was kind of earned once we got to the end of the story. And again, like once you definitely get basically more information about Dolan and Douglas's situation, even though yes, the plan itself is a little stupid and such, in a way, you can't really blame the engines all too much as to why they wanted to do that plan to begin with. Because like I said, if Douglas was the one that had been found out originally, basically Douglas kind of had basically every right mindset, or at least you can understand the worry that Douglas was feeling, because he's probably thinking that if Shataba had found out that Douglas was the one that caused the whole mess to begin with, he was probably afraid that he was definitely going to get sent away for sure, and was definitely never going to see his twin brother again. So basically, we could say that the plan was just more as an act of like both panic and everything, and trying to basically just trying to save face in a sort of sense.
yeah, I get your point. I definitely get your point.
Hmm.
And we were discussing it behind the scenes, guys, and something.
Hmm.
The first half is good.
It
Like
is.
it's perfect as it is. But I do think the plan was kind of. I still think the plan was kind of stupid from the very beginning.
Yeah.
But it doesn't bother me as it did before.
Hmm.
And yes, you're right. Like this is definitely one of the best cliffhangers ever. Because if you're someone who's just getting into the Railway series and doesn't know anything about Donald and Douglas, this is the story that's gonna leave you like, oh man, oh man.
Definitely, like I said, it's basically like the twins said themselves later in the story. They basically, underestimated the Fat Controller. They definitely underestimated just how smart and how clever he could be as well too, and everything. Because like I said, definitely his son and everything. And definitely when his father ran, when his own father ran the railway before. Yeah, basically, he knows the engines very well, and he can tell when something is definitely not right, or he could definitely tell when basically he's being lied to and such.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So, let's see.
So,
Hmm.
just real
Think,
quick and everything. I will say, while the story itself is not all, I want to say it's all that confusing or complicated. I did read the TV series script and everything about basically how the TV series was going to be adapted and everything. And honestly, at least reading the script part and even seeing the TV series version of the episode and everything, now that I can understand where people will be coming from when they say that like the story is a little bit complicated and everything. I wouldn't say it's jumbled or is that it's a mess and everything, but basically, Britt and David really did kind of not necessarily skip, but they kind of rushed a lot of information and kind of just threw it right at you at your face and everything. That pretty much is one of those where it's like, if you blink or if you fall asleep, and then basically basically yeah, the plan and like the whole plot is probably going to confuse you just a little bit.
yes, definitely, definitely. I also read it too, and I can see where Rip was coming from. So, so yeah, let's get this out of the way. What's my rating gonna be for the missing coach? Because I know a lot of people are gonna be dying to know after I changed my opinion on this story.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I thought about this long and hard, and I think the best rating I can give the story, because I still think the plan was stupid and it was doomed to fail.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to be honest with myself. I can't go any lower than. I will say I was originally gonna say 7, but I think 8 is the lowest I can go. I can't go anywhere. I can go anywhere lower than an 8
Okay, well that's still not too bad. That's basically an 18 out of 40. That's not bad right here.
because I got to give points to the cliffhanger. That cliffhanger
Mm-hmm.
was great.
Yeah.
The comedy was also good
You know what?
because
Yeah,
that what
you know what? Yeah, I definitely do agree with you, right there. Honestly, it wasn't just both the cliffhanger and the comedy that did it for me. It was just basically Dahl and Douglas themselves as characters and such. Cause man, like I said, basically after their introduction in the last story, basically the way that Wilbur has written these characters, giving them more a proper introduction and a more basically letting the reader spend more time with Donald Douglas to get a feel on the characters and everything. He's done a really good job on just basically showing who these characters are. Basically at first when they're together and everything. Like we said and everything. Definitely in the beginning, you could definitely tell that Donald and Douglas are very hard workers and everything. In a way, they're kind of a little better than Duck in a sort of way and such because basically like the narrator and Wilbur said, they both tackled good strains and coaches very easily as well. And not only that, but even after that, you could definitely see that just based on their interactions with Gordon and Henry alone, they are definitely more. They are definitely no doubt about no pushovers and everything. Basically, if you
yes,
yeah, basically, if you start teasing them, or if you start teasing them, or at least God help you, if you start teasing their twin and everything, you just better run for the hills. Literally, you better run for the hills and
run
such.
to the hill.
Guys, I mean, we're definitely going to be seeing that in the very next story as well too, and everything. And honestly, it just goes to show it's on how much both Donald and Douglas really care for each other as well too, and everything and such.
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely, definitely. So yeah, I give the story an 8 because it's the lowest I can go. I can't go anywhere lower than that because I feel would be very unfair.
Alrighty. And
Uh,
honestly, go ahead.
no, go ahead because I was gonna say something, but no, I kind of forgot. Go ahead.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. Basically, as I was saying, and everything. Yeah. Like I said, while the plan, I will admit, can't be both stupid and complicated and everything. When you think about it long and hard and such. Like I said, when I was reading that plan and everything, and thinking about it long and hard myself, and even critically and everything, it was one of those plans where, well, not necessarily plan, but it was just one of those moments where, honestly, the more I read it and everything, while it was stupid and such, it's more so for the way I like how it was written and such. That just definitely because you really thought that, or at least Donald and Douglas really thought that they can get away with this on basically a plan where, while it may sound stupid because we know like the outcome of it in a way, basically if the twins just acted a little bit more smarter and everything, it probably could have worked. It probably could have worked with at least on the passengers and such. It probably could have worked with both on the passengers and maybe a little bit on the engines and everything and such. But honestly, now that you mention it, in a way on how the Fat Controller found out with just basically with how Douglas was acting and everything, and the way that even Donald was acting as well too, it really does make me appreciate that scene a lot more, and especially makes the cliffhanger all the more like dramatic as well too. Cause yeah, honestly, Douglas kind of brought it in on himself for just acting the way he was acting when he was being confronted by the Fat Controller and such.
Yes, I just find it. I also find it kind of hilarious
Mm-hmm.
that that Douglas thinks the Fat Controller is believing him, but the Fat Controller is actually playing along with him. It's like, oh, I
Pretty
see.
much, yeah. Pretty much, and like I said, just the way it was written, and even the way really rushed in, which by the way, before we continue and everything, I basically loved how really Russian also gives the twin Scottish accents and such. I think it does an amazing job with them.
Oh yes, yes, definitely. One of my he has one of my favorite moments in this book, and it's basically here, gentlemen, are the facts. Number 10 has been shot in the yard.
Hmm.
Your coach disappeared. We investigate. Number 10 disappears too. And just right there, you can tell that the Fat Controller knows this is bullshit.
Pretty
This is
much, yeah,
bullshit.
just pretty much. Um, and you know what? I think the only thing I might give a little complaint as well too is just something that we kind of allured to when you were giving the summary. It's just more so that like, just basically the Wild Northwestern itself and everything. Like, cause like I said, we're definitely never gonna we're never gonna be seeing this again as well too. So it does kind of feel in a sort of sense that we were just kind of put this plot line in a story just cause he was trying to think of like what kind of conflict could Donald and Douglas get themselves into and everything. But at the same time, I'm not really gonna give it detect too many points from it and everything, because honestly, like I said, I really do love the story and everything. I think, like I said, it's definitely one of my favorite Railway series stories, and not only in just a book, but probably just a series overall. That you know what? Just because of how much the story has impressed me and everything, I'm also gonna give it a 10. Why not? I think it deserves another 10.
Okay, so for the first time ever, two tens in a row. I mean, well, for you,
Pretty much, yeah.
where I got a different rating, you got another 10.
Yep, pretty much. So yeah. Right now, I'm two ratings above you and such.
All right, so the next story, this one I'm very excited because I'm
Yeah. Same here. Same here. Yeah. So just like to mention, Coach, I'm pretty sure, especially those that are that know me from my old channel and everything, and see my season 2 review. Yes, let's talk about Break Van. All right. So the plot to Break Van is that pretty much after the last story, missing Coach and everything, the Fat Controller tells both Donald and Douglas off for basically trying to trick not only him but the passengers and everything with the whole tender swap. In a way, I guess you could say that the Fat Controller is only giving one more engine a chance and such. But now, thanks to the little commotion that the twins have caused in the last story, this definitely kind of convinced the Fat Controller to find the engine and everything, and basically send one engine home and keep the other, which basically causes the twins to grow even more worried and everything about the situation. So they figured, alrighty, well, if we can't play a trick on the Fat Controller and everything, well, why don't we just try being good for the rest of the day? Because he figured I like, hey, like, both of them are doing good and actually, doing their jobs and everything. That maybe the Fat Controller will change his mind and keep both engines on the island after all. And at first, the plan does sound good. However, there is one little brake van in the yard that is taking a dislike to Douglas for some reason. We don't know why. Basically, thanks to the brake van and everything, he's basically torturing Douglas in a way by making his trains late on purpose and such, causing Douglas to take the blame and everything. And when Donald finds out about this, he gets very angry and and basically in a way threatens the brake van to basically tell him that, like, if he doesn't do his job and start being more nice to Douglas, then literally he could push him off the rails if he wanted to, and such.
Foreshadowing.
I mean, yeah, foreshadowing. Actually, yeah, this is foreshadowing when you think about it and such. So at first it does work and everything, and the van does behave better afterwards and such. However, when Donald accidentally crashes into a single box and everything, and now that he has to have his tender mended,
Stop there for a second. Stop there for a second. If you thought what happened with the barber was hilarious, if you thought what happened with the barber in the clothes shave was hilarious,
just a way to, like, yeah, the single man basically plops down into Donald's coal tender and everything, and just picks himself up and just be like, "You clumsy great engine, you spoiled my night's new single box. Never mind the fact that I also could have died as well too. I don't care about that. I just care about my single box."
But to be fair, at least that's better than it's only an engine.
I mean, to be fair, yeah, and it's not like Donald crashed a whole single box. To be fair, it only just made it like crack a little and such.
It wasn't that bad, but everyone's a douchebag on the island of Sodor.
But yeah. Well, also that, but also pretty much everyone just pretty much cares more about inanimate objects than themselves.
Pretty much.
And such. But yeah, because of that, basically Donald has pretty much ruined the Fat Controller's plan on sending Douglas away and keeping Donald instead. So because of that, he has no choice but to keep Douglas, while Donald is sent away to basically have a sender mended. However, James is also going to be left to do the goods work and such, much to James's annoyance and such. And pretty much Douglas also teases about a little bit what happened to Donald, but also teases about James's own accident with the tar and everything. But pretty much afterwards and such, when the spiteful brake van tries to trick James and everything, try to make the trucks hold back and everything, that's when Douglas is coming up and pretty much in a way gets his revenge on the brake van and everything. So basically, Douglas agrees to be James's back engine and everything. They're struggling a little bit up the hill and such. And because the brake van did tow the trucks to hold back and everything, pretty much the brake van also kind of screwed himself over and such because Douglas just refuses. Basically, as Douglas puts it later in the story, he just did not want to be beaten by a young tricksy van. And pretty much he pushes so hard and everything that the van is just basically broken into pieces and it's dead. It's never coming back again.
Just a little side note.
Yeah.
I love it in the TV series that...
Pretty much in the TV series, you can see that, like, he has a black eye. He pretty much has a black eye.
But Douglas's reaction, he just keeps smiling and he just breaks it like...
Yeah, he pretty much just like, good riddance.
Whereas in the book, he's basically angry. But I love it more. I love the TV series more because of Douglas. Douglas just has that smiling face, and after he breaks it, he just keeps smiling.
And then once Edward comes over to clear the mess, this is where we actually get another really cool cliffhanger from the Fat Controller. Because on the one hand, as he says, "I admire your determination, Douglas," but at the same time, he's just like, "But I still gotta send one engine away," and pretty much after this, you can really see that the Fat Controller really is put into like this huge dilemma in a sort. Like, he's really got to make a decision. He pretty much just this little decision that he's making and everything is probably like probably one of the toughest decisions he's probably had to make in a very long while working on the railway. And honestly, that's Brake Van. So. Alrighty, so if you guys remember in my Season 2 review and everything, I basically gave, Brake Van was basically my very first Met rating in the, basically the whole Thomas and Friends show and everything. And that was just mostly because, if you guys remember, basically that was just mostly because Britt made the decision to cancel the missing coach and everything, the whole meat and the whole conflict as to Donald and Douglas trying to stay on the railway and everything together and such, while the Fat Controller, is basically making a decision on which engine he wants to send away and everything, pretty much gets lost and such. And because of that, it to me personally and such, it pretty much makes the audience lose interest basically in a conflict and everything, because basically now that we don't have the missing coach and everything, and because that Donald and Douglas introduction was just not only cut, but just pretty much no pun intended, scrap and such and everything. Pretty much
it's basically like here's Donald and Douglas, so let's get to it.
Pretty much, and pretty much, and because that, we don't really have too much, or we're not really feeling too much of the conflict. To me personally, and everything, it just really it's just a big question. It's just more like, should I really care about what happens to them in the end and everything? Because I mean, in some way I do, but at the same time, and everything, there's not really much to them and everything that makes me want to care just enough to see them, actually, to know if they're gonna, stay on the railway, or one of them's gonna be sent away and everything. It's basically what I'm getting at and such. But basically in this story, now that we have the missing coach and everything, and now that we do have the conflict and everything, so I will say, I wouldn't say the story is like my favorite overall in the book, but it's definitely miles and miles a lot better, in the Railway series version and everything, because now the twins definitely have another conflict to work with, or at least so that Douglas has another conflict to work with himself and everything. When you really think about it and everything, even though this book is titled The Twin Engines, the book is also really more focused on Douglas himself and everything. Because the more you think about it and everything, the story is also really more about Douglas wanting to stay on the island of Sodor and everything, because he does not want to be scrapped and such. He wants to work closely with his, twin brother and everything. And basically you could see that, in the last story and everything, he's doing pretty good. He was doing really well and everything. It was just that one little oh shit moment where that basically distracted him and basically caused him to make not only a major mistake, but also caused him to do something really reckless and everything, and doing something that honestly almost caused him to be sent back to begin with and everything as well too. So basically in the very next story, you can really tell that Douglas wants to make up. He wants to be a lot more better and such. He wants to show, not only the Fat Controller, but the rest of the engines and everything that, he could do this. He's a real good engine. He can work hard under the right circumstances. It's just sometimes, depending on the situation. This time it's more the brake van and such. It's all thanks to the brake van for also making Douglas's life harder. That once again, he almost got sent away back to the other railway, and more so be sent to the scrap if it wasn't for Donald sticking up to him. And honestly, in this story, you can really see just how much of a strong impact both Donald and Douglas have for each other and everything.
Yes, this is miles better than what we got in the TV episode. Yeah, and I'll be honest, this is perfect. This story alone is perfect. I wouldn't change anything.
It is, like I said, it's just miles improved upon and everything. That like I said, the story really is just more like a redemption story for Douglas, and it works. It really does work, especially with that final ending as well too, with Douglas just really struggling, proving to Van wrong that again, like you said, he's not going to be beaten by that tricksy Van. If the Van wants to play games, he's going to play games no matter what and such. So it really does show to Douglas and everything that basically he was just determined to help James no matter what, and that really says a lot about him. Like Edward said and everything, Douglas was trying to work hard enough for 3. And again, like I said, that cliffhanger was the top of had. And again, especially with the way that really Russian and everything was basically read that line with the Fat Controller being like, I don't know, I really don't know. Again, that really just that really invites the readers and everything to finally read the final last story, because like I said, you're also just as anxious as Douglas. Like, are they going to stay or are they going to go away? Like, were the conflicts that basically the twins cause so bad and everything that like this is going to be the reason why they got sent away in the first place? Like, like I said, the more I'm thinking about it and everything, it's really good. Like, this story is just really, really good. Now that I think about it and everything, so it's gonna be a little interesting. Like, cause like I said, I wouldn't say it's my.
I
Go
also
ahead.
like the voice. I also like the voice that he gives. Willie Rushton gives to the breakman, like you're calm.
Uh,
I'm essential.
yeah, same here. I do too. Alrighty. So, because like I said, the story is an improvement from the TV series by a long shot. But also, like I said, I wouldn't say, while this is a good story, I wouldn't say it's my favorite of the book and everything. But man, this is really tough, honestly. You know what? I am going to. I'm gonna give the story. Okay. You know what? There is a lot of good stuff in it that I'm gonna give the story another. Oh God, do I want to give it another 10 or I want to give it a 9? I don't know why this is complicated for me to think, cause
Well, it's up to you, honestly. Was there more good than was there more
there
good
definitely was
than?
actually a lot more good. Because like I really can't think of anything really bad to say, honestly, on the story. And honestly, again, like going back to that single box scene. Okay, actually, yeah, you know what? It's getting another 10. It's getting another 10 for me. It deserves it. It deserves another 10.
Oh wow!
Cause yeah, I was thinking on that single box scene and everything, and especially with the way that Wilbur wrote this sentence and everything, but Donald didn't say what he was sorry for. We know, don't we? That little scene right there can be taken into so many different ways with a lot of readers that honestly is clever. It's just really clever in my opinion. So you know what? Yeah, it deserves another 10.
Yes, I agree with you. It's another 10 for me as well.
Alrighty, all right. So once again, I'm still 2 ratings ahead of you and everything, but so far this book is looking pretty good for us. Very
Very
good,
good for you.
honestly.
Okay, so Break Fan, like you, the first time I saw the TV episode, I liked it just fine. And when I did my season 2 review back in 2000 in 2020, and yeah, the book version is miles better than what we got in the TV episode, because it's perfect. It's like
Mhm.
the twins are ashamed for what they did. The twins are ashamed for what they did in the previous story, that they just want to correct themselves and be good, and
Mhm.
that's character development right there at its best. Well, yeah, I don't have too much to say because you pretty much nailed everything I was gonna say.
Alrighty then. Alrighty then. Well, we got the final story of this book. We have the Deputation. So take it away.
All right, the deputation. So Donald and Douglas are worried after the previous story that they're afraid they're gonna be sent back, but they decide to give what they decided to give their best one more time when Snow comes to the island of Sodor earlier than usual. And as it's stated, most engines hate snow, but Donald and Douglas, since they're from Scotland, they're used to it, and they basically work together to push the snow out of the rails. And one day they're just pushing the snow away when suddenly they come across Henry, who is got stuck on the snow. And so the twins pull him out. Henry is very grateful, but the twins are still worried about being sent away because the Fat Controller was away. And should I say it? Should I give it away?
Go right ahead.
Because spoiler alert, he's actually on the mainland buying Douglas.
Oh, interesting.
Yep, the reason why he's away was because he was on the mainland making arrangements to buy Douglas as well.
Okay. That actually does make a lot more sense.
Yeah, so but of course the engines don't know as of yet. The twins are still worried, and the three big assholes for once actually decide to do something good, and they decide to prove that Donald and Douglas are worth, and they decide to stay on the island. And even Percy agrees with them, and so they all agree.
I mean, yes and no. I mean that yes in a way. The three big assholes and everything. Pretty much at first, do want to do a good thing, deed. They actually do want to, basically put in a good word for Donald and Douglas and everything.
I'll get to it later. I'll get to it in a moment.
Okay, go ahead.
I'll get to it in a moment. All right, so they all agree that something must be done, and so Edward goes. Percy goes to ask Edward. I don't know because I think Edward is a teacher to him.
Well, I mean, like, when you think about it, it does make sense, because pretty much Edward, is known to be, like, wise and everything. So I think Percy probably figures that, like, that pretty much, if anyone could give, like, good advice on, like, situation they're in, it would be Edward.
So Percy goes to Edward and explains what the engine said, and Edward's like, okay, so what you need is a deputation, and he explains what that is, and then Percy goes back and says, like, Edward says we need a depot station, and then basically they go back and forth as to what a deputation is, and after some long silence, Gordon makes the final decision, saying, like, okay,
all right. Well, I mean, I'm sure everyone else would like to try to talk to the File Controller without shitting their pants, but Percy, you go do it. And Percy's just like, what?
What? Me? I can't. And then basically, all right, those who want Percy to go say aye. So basically, it's settled, and Percy, to his disliking, has to go and tell the Fat Controller. So then the next day comes, and the Fat Controller is back from the mainland from buying Douglas, and Percy gets extremely nervous around him. It's like, yes, sir. And then basically the Fat Controller looks at him. It's like, something wrong, Percy? You look nervous. And then basically Percy tells him about what the engines were talking about. They asked me to be a deputation, sir. It's about Donald and Douglas, sir. They say, sir, that if you send them away, those be turned to scrap. And then Percy tells him everything. And then the Fat Controller's like, okay, Percy, that'll do. Thank you very much. And he goes away. A few hours later, the Fat Controller comes to the shed and he's basically like, okay, so I had a deputation. I understand your feelings, but I do not approve of interference. And so here comes the greatest news, ever.
The happy ending that we've all been waiting for.
So the Fat Controller starts off by congratulating Donald and Douglas, and then he asks them, "What color paint would you like?" And the twins are like, "Blue, said please," because if you guys don't know, blue is the color of the engines were on the Caledonian Railway, and Donald and Douglas are from the Caledonian Railway. Well, what used to be it.
Well, yeah, but pretty much that's the reason why they want to be painted blue. And so I can just imagine the Fat Controller just being like, "Oh great, now I got to worry about another blue menace on the railway."
Well, to be fair, it's been a long time after what happened with the Henry confusion.
Pretty much.
So.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. And I think after this, I think Donald and Douglas are pretty much like the last blue engine, engines, at least owned by Sir Topham Hatt on the railway at this point.
Yes, and then basically the Fat Controller is like, okay, but your nameplates will be painted on you. We'll have no more mistakes. And the twins thank him, but then they ask, does this mean that we can? The Fat Controller smiles. It means, but what remains of his speech is drowned in a delighted chorus of cheers and whistles, meaning that Donald and Douglas are here to fucking stay.
Woo!
One thing I'm going to start off by saying is that I fucking love the ending of the TV series version where everyone goes shit crazy.
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. Honestly, it's that ending, and even the way Kenny illustrated the ending, in the Railway series really does like, honestly, again, compared to Duck and the Diesel Engine, this really does feel like a really truly deserved happy ending after all. Especially all the shit that the twin engines had to go through just to basically stay here in the first place.
Yes. So the deputation, this story is a great way to conclude Donald and Douglas's story, but I do have one complaint.
Yeah. Oh yeah, where did you get to the shed?
Oh yeah, how the fuck did you get into the shed? And why are you having corrected Percy?
Well, Bonnie, I'm a time traveling lord. However, the only downside is that I lose my hearing.
Oh man, I hate that illustration so much.
Yeah. Actually, no. You know what it is? That's not Edward. That's actually one of the twins that actually got a new blue coat of paint and everything. Because, hear me out. They probably thought that if the Fat Controller was going to send Donald Douglas away, they were probably just like, okay, quick, one of you needs to be blue and everything. If one of you is blue, then basically we'll have an even more stupid idea to get you in even more dumbass trouble.
I'm kind of thinking that Edward was supposed to be James, but I think there was some confusion while Kenny was illustrating, so I guess he painted Edward by accident. Which, stuff happens, but it's so bad, man.
Well,
but anyway,
like the old saying, you can't win them all.
Yeah, but that is only a minor complaint, honestly, because the story is absolutely perfect.
It is.
And to think that the Fat Controller was away by Douglas makes the story even more enjoyable.
It does, and honestly, it's just one of those things where it's like, now that you mention it, it does actually make a lot more sense. It actually does get the ending. It not only makes, where the top hat was and everything, but like I said, it makes the ending, it gives the ending a lot more of a happy ending. Now that you know, especially where the Fat Controller was this whole time.
Yes, definitely. And well, to end this off, the Deputation for me is yet another solid 10. A great ending to this amazing book.
Nice. Alrighty, well, as for me, yeah, I can't really think of too many things, or at least too many negative things to say on the story. You know what? I'm feeling generous and everything. I'm also gonna give the story another 10. So, I mean, at least for me, I don't even have. At least for me, I don't have to. Basically, what I'm saying, this whole book is an A+. That's what I'm saying. This book is a perfect. This book, outside of Thomas the Tank Engine, is another one that finally got a perfect A+ out of me. Yeah, like
wow.
I said, yeah, pretty much, and pretty much your final rating is a 38 out of 40, actually, and which honestly, yes. that's still basically an A+ for you, cause yeah, it's a 95%, so a solid A for you.
It's definitely. So wow.
Yeah.
Still,
before you close your thoughts on the book, just real quick. Just another thing I also want to add to the Deputation. I just basically love how basically. All the answers just basically had trouble, saying the word Deputation. And just basically using other words like, demonstration or demonstration or like my favorite is just basically Henry saying desperation. Because basically when you think about it, I mean, that's kind of what the Deputation is. You're just kind of desperate that like. Basically, that like your boss. That basically your boss is gonna do a good thing and put something right.
Yes. Wow.
Yeah,
I'm amazed that this is your first A+ in a long time.
Pretty much, like, honestly, like, you know what? Honestly, this actually came out a little bit of a surprise to me too, as well, because I was about ready. This was another book where I was about ready to at least give it a B+ or a solid B at the very least. But it was just one of those books where it's like, the more we took a look at both the summary and what the book was actually about, and even took a look at each story and everything. This is another book where, honestly, Wilbur Awdry really did do another solid job on basically introducing these new characters and everything, and actually giving them like really good conflict that basically made the readers stay and grow interest on these characters more and more. The more they read up on them and everything.
And yeah, this kind of came as a shock to me as well, because I was expecting to give this book like a B because of the missing coach, but.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I was also expecting a D or a C out of you, and everything. Because, like I said, we kind of hyped up this book a lot. And to be fair, both you and I were even ready to basically accept that this was probably going to be our first book, where basically our ratings are going to be very different from each other.
Yes, but wow, look at that! Season 2 is so far we're getting we're at the end now because we're only missing one more book, but Season 2 so far has been great.
It has. It definitely has been great and such. Like, honestly, I don't think there's going to be any book in here that's going to get anything lower than a C, honestly.
Pretty much, yeah. Unless the next book betrays us, but I hope not.
I guess that'll just all depend on the final story of said final book. And how basically both you and I are going to feel on that.
Oh, yeah. I kind of forgot about that.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. But let's be optimistic. Let's hope the last book we're going to do for Season 2 is a good one.
Yeah, let's hope. Well, at the very least, if I can make a prediction right now, I'm going to predict, at least in terms of in my end and such, based on remembering these stories off the top of my head, and what I might say about them, but like I said, I haven't read them yet, or at least I haven't read them prior to the next review coming up soon. I have a feeling that the book might fall somewhere between a solid C or a B plus. The highest grade I could see that book getting is maybe an A minus. That's the highest grade I could see it getting.
I'm with you on that prediction. Yeah, same here.
So I mean, just depending on like how these stories, just depending on like how good these stories are versus how good we make them out to be in our head and everything. Because like I said, it's been proven time and time again that what we think in our head is sometimes a lot more different than when we actually read them again once more before the review.
Yeah, once we get to the review, once we say the rating, there's no turning back.
Pretty much, yeah. So like I said, let's just hope this is not going to be another Gordon the Big Engine on us again.
I'm not gonna say anything because last time I said it's not gonna be that bad, but then we got to
and then basically came to the book. Well, let's just say we had to burn. We basically had to burn the engine shit down afterwards.
That was probably our best episode to date, honestly.
Yeah. You know what? I do agree with you right there. It was.
We kind of lost our shit talking about paint pots and Queen.
Especially when we got to the very last story. Once we got to the very last story, oh boy, you could really feel the act of betray we felt during that last story.
Definitely. So yeah, guys, that was the Twin Engines.
So,
wow.
Yeah, like I said, this was a very fun book. I definitely did enjoy reading this book. Honestly, more so than I thought. And like I said, this book definitely helped show more light on the Twin Engines for me as characters.
Yeah, same here. No wonder they're one of my favorite characters from the entire series.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and we're definitely going to be seeing them a lot more too. And I'm definitely looking forward to some of their stories coming up soon.
Especially in season 3.
Yeah. Oh yes, especially in season 3. Oh yes.
Oh, and I should also mention, if you thought Douglas breaking the Spiteful Brakeman apart was hilarious, just you wait till season 3.
Pretty much.
Because there's another engine that's gonna come up that's gonna do the same thing, but instead of a brakeman, it's with a truck.
And that's basically the story where Diesel 10 makes his cameo.
Oh yes. So anyway, guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode of the podcast, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you guys want to see more episodes of the podcast, hit the subscribe button as well. We got one more book left to go, so let's hope this last book will be a great way to end off season 2.
And then pretty much after that, we got our tier list for season 2.
Yep, which technically will be exciting because I'm excited to get back to the tier list after so long.
Same here, honestly.
So also don't forget to check out our separate channels, All Teapot 7 for me and Sequoia the Diesel for Sequoia. Both channels will be in the description below. Anyway, guys, this has been Bunny with
Sequoia the Diesel.
Saying thank you for watching, and we'll be seeing you guys next week for the final episode of season 2 of the Really Useful Podcast. Take care, folks, and we'll be seeing you guys real soon.
Goodbye, YouTube viewers. Don't forget to hit the notification bell next time.